What is up, guys? Marcellus Williams, aka TheSwolefessor, here to educate you on health, fitness, and social well-being. And today, guys, on screen, you're going to see workout footage from Monday's workout, which was bench and pen lay row focus, and that's pretty much all I'm showing you from that workout, as well as footage from yesterday's workout, which was deadlift and lower body focus. And you're going to be seeing that workout in its entirety. But the topic that I want to talk about with you guys today was the importance of the order of your exercises in a given workout session, because I've been getting a few questions about this lately, which makes a lot of sense because, a lot of you are, starting to bulk, starting to build up your bodies, and it makes sense that you want to understand the best way to go about doing that in terms of like each individual session, what's going to be, best for muscle growth, what's going to be best for strength increases in terms of like, the order of your exercises, or does the order of your exercises really matter, or as long as you get all of the movements in, is that what matters above all? So let's go ahead and get right into it. So whenever we're talking about like the order of exercises in a given sessions, guys, there's kind of two things that you really want to focus on. The first thing being just overall efficiency, meaning doing what's most optimal for your body as a whole in that given session, making sure that you're getting the most benefit you can from each and every movement, making sure that the order is set up in such a way to where you're going to get the most benefit you can from each thing that you do without kind of hindering the benefits you would get from another movement. And then when we're talking about prioritization, that comes down more to like, okay, so what are your goals? What are you focused on? Like when you're doing your workouts, are you trying to like focus on a specific muscle group, or are you trying to get stronger at a specific movement, or is it like just performance based? We're just trying to do the best you can on every single movement. And some of this will vary, based off kind of what kind of programming you're on, what type of split you're on. But let's go ahead and start first and foremost with efficiency. So the biggest thing with efficiency, guys, and this is kind of across the board, regardless if you're on, full body, upper, lower, bro split, push, pull legs, and that's going to be, yet your compound movements should come first. Now, this probably doesn't come as a surprise to any of you who've been watching my channel for a while. You guys know how I feel about compound movements. I'm certainly not a minimalist to any degree. I'm not someone who just thinks you just bench, squat, deadlift, overhead press, and that's it. And I'm definitely not anti-isolation movement. I've explained to you guys, the importance of isolation and accessory work. It's just about incorporating it in the right way, because a lot of people prioritize their isolation work over their compounds, and that's just not really efficient for the mere fact that, as I've explained on this channel before, compound movements are those bang for your buck exercises. Not only are you hitting multiple muscle groups at once when you do compound movements, but you're going to be able to move much more weight and do much more total workload using those compound movements than if you were to use like, isolation work. You're going to be able to do more on bench press than you're going to be able to do on a tricep press down. You're going to be able to do more on a barbell row or weighted chin up than you're going to be able to do on a curl. Now, it doesn't mean that you don't do tricep press downs. It doesn't mean that you don't do curls as, direct on work or accessory work, but it's important to understand that you want to prioritize the compound movements first for a couple of reasons. The first one is that if you were to bench press first and then go do tricep press downs, you're going to find that doing that bench press is not going to fatigue you so much to where you just absolutely suck on tricep press downs, to where you can't do like, a sufficient amount of weight for your tricep press down. Whether you started with a tricep press down fresh or do it after your bench press, you're not going to see just such huge dramatic differences. Whereas with bench press, if you were to do your tricep press downs first, or cable flies first, or front raises, do work any of the muscle groups involved in bench press first, or even if you worked all of the muscle groups with isolation work before you bench press, you're going to find that your bench press is going to go down quite a bit as far as the amount of weight you can do, the amount of total reps you can do, the amount of sets you're going to be able to squeeze out in that given session. Now, even though our body just knows total workload, meaning, so long, if you do 5 sets of flies and 5 sets of bench press, your body's still going to get the collective volume. You want to maximize that volume. So it's kind of, if you think about it, it's a lot better for you to do, sets with 225 pounds on bench and then go and do sets of maybe like, 100 on flies, versus maybe doing sets of like 110 on flies, but then only being able to get like maybe 200 pounds on bench press because your chest is just that fatigued to where you have to drop the weight that significantly. Now, that's just an example. It's not to say that you'll have to actually drop it that much. It kind of depends on how much you're doing, but that's kind of the problem with the whole pre-exhaustion method. It's one thing if you're kind of doing certain movements just to kind of warm up, to kind of acclimate your muscles and acclimate your nervous system to the movement. I, of course, prefer to just do actual warm-up sets on the movement to acclimate. But if you're just kind of doing that to get warm, then I can kind of understand that, like a set or two of very lightweight But if you're doing full-on working sets of an isolation movement that's going to impede your compound, it just doesn't really make sense. It makes sense and you get more bang for your buck to focus on that compound first and then come in and finish the isolation with the isolation work. Why? Well, because when you're doing that bench press, you're already getting chest stimulus. You're already getting tricep stimulus. You're already stimulating your delts. So then you can go in and focus on each individual muscle. But with those compounds, you kind of get to hit all of it at once. It's a great way to start off your workouts with those movements. So when we're talking about efficiency, we kind of want to look at that. Now, when going into prioritization, there's kind of a couple ways to go about it. For one, as I mentioned, if you're not on like a full body or an upper lower split, if you're kind of like on a bro split or a push pull legs, well, the muscle prioritization is kind of already there because you're only focusing on that individual muscle group. Now, you could talk about how, like, you know, if it's like a push day and you're focused on your chest and you're someone who you feel like your upper chest is lagging, then yeah, start with your incline work. Now, granted, as we already know, you can't separate your chest, you know, from the upper, from the lower, from the inner. You can't separate it. When one part of your chest is working, all of your chest is working, but you can focus more on specific areas based off angles that you're using. So by all means, if your upper chest is lagging, then you can do like incline first. But in general, if you're doing like, you know, push pull legs or like a bro split, you're only focused on one muscle group. However, you can still focus on movement prioritization. If it's your push day and you know that you kind of want to focus more on your shoulders or specifically your overhead press, you want that to get stronger, well, then it's probably going to be better for you to do overhead press before you do bench press. Why? Well, if you overhead press first, you're going to be a lot more fresh, you're going to be a lot stronger in the movement than if you do bench press first. Once again, already pre-exhausting those muscles that are going to be used in overhead press. So, you know, when it comes to movement prioritization, it's really that simple. Whatever movement you want to get stronger on, that's what you should focus on first. And then kind of a combination of prioritization and efficiency is if your prioritization is more, let's say, performance-based, where, hey, I'm trying to do the most weight I can on each movement. And this kind of applies more to people who are doing like maybe like, you know, upper, lower, or full body, where you're working multiple muscle groups at once. Let's use full body, for example. There's two ways of going about it. If your goal is kind of like muscle prioritization, and let's say you really want to focus on your back, then let's say you're doing 2 to 3 movements for each muscle group. Do all of your back movements first. Do all of your back movements at once. That way you're gonna like focus on your back first. You'll have full energy focused on your back, and you're gonna, you know, have to deal with the metabolic fatigue as well of, you know, working like 2 to 3 back movements back to back to back, no pun intended. But if you're someone where you're more performance-based, where you're trying to get, you know, the most amount of weight you can for the most amount of sets and reps you can on each movement, then maybe you want to set it up where, okay, I'll do a leg movement, a push movement, a back movement, then I'll do the second leg movement, the second push movement, the second back movement. Why? Well, because that way the muscle groups are getting a little bit of rest. Instead of doing your back movements back to back to back, you'll do like, you know, back movement, leg movement, push movement, then back movement, leg movement, push movement. And that's going to allow you to utilize more weight on everything, which one could argue would be better, because on one end, you know, if you're working all the muscle groups back to back to back, you get that metabolic fatigue. But on the other end, if you can do more total weight, more total sets, more total reps, well, that's more total workload for the given muscle groups as a whole. So one could argue that that's going to be more efficient no matter what. But once again, it kind of just comes down to your goals, as well as a little bit as what you enjoy in terms of, like, you know, how you set up a full body routine. And that's why that's another great thing about full bodies, that there's so many different ways to go about it. You can do full body, as I mentioned before, but still have a day where you're focused on specific muscle groups. Maybe it's a full body, you have one full body day where you do 2 to 3 back movements, then you just do 1 movement for each other muscle group. Then on the next day you do the same thing, but you have, you know, 2 to 3 leg movements, and then just 1 movement for every other muscle group. So there's lots of ways to go about it, but I'm not going to sit here and preach more full body to you guys. But the point is that when it comes to the order of your exercises, yes guys, it does matter. Like, keep in mind guys, if there's anything you take away from this video, it's always ask why. Why are you doing what you're doing? Because if you ask yourself why, it's really going to make you become a more critical thinker, become a more critical lifter, which is very important, especially with all the garbage going on in this industry. If you ask yourself why you're doing something, then you're able to better evaluate, is this actually beneficial to me? Is this actually going to help me reach my goals? And it's going to make you question, is there something out there that could be better for my goals? You're going to look at more options when you ask why, instead of just doing something for the sake of doing it. But yeah guys, that's pretty much it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead and leave a comment down below, let me know that you did. If you did not, leave a comment down below, let me know what I can do to get better. Like the video, share, subscribe, keep it simple, specific, scientific. I'll catch y'all later.